She has come to symbolize the strong Southern belle with a will of steel and the heart of a full-fledged liberal. In real life, the Southern part is true, but she's been known to refer to herself as the only Republican in show business. She's a complete performer, but her most recognizable character will probably always be as Designing Women's Julia Sugarbaker. From TV to film, Broadway to cabaret, she continues to make her presence known. In the 1980s, she found her soulmate in actor Hal Holbrook, and the two have come to represent the best of Hollywood unions. Hello, I'm Ernie Manouse. Coming up on Interviews, our conversation with the Emmy Award-winning actress and singer, Dixie Carter. How different do you think this world would be if everyone was from the South?
That's a tricky question. I think Southerners have many admirable traits, and in many ways, it might be a pretty nice world. One jumps to the notion that the world would be moving a little bit less rapidly. It would be a kinder world. Yeah. That I know for sure. It would be a kinder world if everyone were from the South. A great, funny idea. It would be a more literate world. People would read more. It would be a better world for children.
Really?
Yeah. So it would be a better world, because it would be a better world for children.
Did you ever try and fight against the Southern stereotype?
Mm-hmm. I guess I did. I don't know. My folks named me, my father was the principal mover in this, named me Dixie so that I wouldn't be named some of the other long family names. My sister was named Melba Helen after our two aunts, his daddy's sister and my mother's sister. There was a Faustina Imogen in the family. There were many family names. And Daddy said, let's name her something cute that nobody will ever make fun of. So I went to New York with the moniker Dixie, and I had fun made of my name and me, sort of tangentially. I did a play with Meryl Streep, and she got Tom Babe back in the 70s, got Tom Babe to insert a line where she could call me Miss Cup. That was never comfortable exactly for me, you know. So I've taken it all these years. I say taken it because it's out there. Making fun of Southerners is really out there. One doesn't want to say, I have a very, very high IQ. I'm really smart. But it does become a kind of a goal, inevitably, to get the notion across that one isn't an idiot. So many people have said, oh, Dixie, I expected you to be blonde. Ooh. Meaning with fans and bubbles, or, you know, yeah. People. But then Linda Bloodworth wrote Designing Women, which she said was her absolute attempt to get women out of a situation where they're always on the front porch and they're slip scratching. Yep. And she created for me a public impression that I was smart, that all of us were really. But particularly that I was smart. So I get invited to do speeches now, a lot, public appearances, because people think I'm smart because of Julia Sugarbaker on Designing Women. It was a nice feeling. Nice.
Does it bother you when people confuse you with that character, though?
Mm-mm.
No.
Nothing bothers me about being confused about anything that has contributed to arriving in my late 40s at a level of I guess you'd have to use the word success in show business that, you know, nothing about it bothers me. Fans who come up to me and disturb me in restaurants do not really bother me because I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I didn't get that kind of a notice and attention and financial remuneration when I was young. I took 10 years out of my life to get married and have my baby girls. And those were what I call the pretty years. So I was out of show business from 26 to 35. That was a big chunk.
Yeah.
And events transpired. My marriage to my children's father failed. And I received an offer to come to Hollywood, and I was scared of LA, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave New York. I loved living in New York, but I couldn't earn a living working for Joseph Papp at the New York Shakespeare Festival. So at 40, I did go to Los Angeles against all odds. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm proud that I was the valedictorian in my high school class. I'm proud I won the math award. And I'm proud that I went to Los Angeles at 40 years of age and managed to get lucky, if that's the word, managed to become established.
And see, and I think that's interesting in the story of your life, the fact that not just the trip out to California when you did that, but the trip from Tennessee up to New York when you chose to do that.
Yeah.
How did you, I mean, here you are, and I don't mean any disrespect, but you're a Southern girl. You grew up in the heart of the South, living the South as the South is.
Yeah, yeah.
And you decided to go to New York.
It wasn't a decision. I don't believe these things are decisions, really. More and more, I don't. I think you just do it. One is propelled. The Metropolitan Opera started broadcasting on, the Texaco company started putting them on Saturday afternoons the year I was born, 1939. And so that was in our home on Saturday afternoons. And by the time I was 4, or even before that, I knew it was my destiny to sing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. I knew that as a tiny child. That glorious music, that glorious sound coming out, and I would peek into the radio and look to find the little creatures who were making those sounds. I knew what I had to do. I always knew it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it. We had a disastrous experience with tonsillectomies in our family. Dr. Berryhill, who got to be well known in West Tennessee as a football player and coach, just decided all of a sudden to start operating on people and start cutting out tonsils. So he cut all 3 of us the same day. We all nearly bled to death. And I wound up with scar tissue growing up my nose and in my ear and down my throat. And I was, from that moment on, I was not going to sing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City. I was 7. But I wound up right across the park at the Cafe Carlisle for 11 seasons.
Right.
So and I did a lot of musicals. You can't keep somebody from doing what's in their heart to do.
When you were 7 and this happened, and you must have realized your voice was different.
I didn't know. No, I sang like a lark. I didn't realize that this stuff was going to keep growing over the years. It was going to cause muscular, tension.
Contractions.
That would just limit my voice. And so George Hearn used to say I had the most feminine sound he ever heard. And I was a coloratura, but it was not going to be. I studied classical music always. And I studied opera, and I found teachers in New York who were willing to take me seriously as a musical student. I think it was more musicianship than the voce. But then I got to do Maria Callas on Broadway in masterclass. And so my heroine, with whom I had been singing, although that wasn't the right thing for me to be singing, this gigantic Enigma sono tre l'amor del. But I knew what it meant as the lady. I auditioned for the Met when I got to New York, and she said, that was awful. She said, after I sang the aria from La Rondine, Doretta's Dream, which I played for myself on the piano. Not that time, not for that audition. It was a Met pianist. And her name's escaping me right now. Geraldine Souvain said, that was awful. But you certainly have lovely Italian, and you know what the words mean. And you should be on the stage. Now, whether it's the stage of the Met, I don't know, Miss Carter, but I'm going to stay in touch with you. So she knew Richard Rodgers. And I wound up singing for him at the newly instituted music theater of Lincoln Center. This is before I married, you know. Understudying there and singing in 3 massive revivals of Carousel, Carousel, The King and I understudied Lee Venora. Carousel, I understudied Susan Watson. John Raitt came back and did it. And The Merry Widow, and I understudied Patrice Munsell. 2 of those I toured. And then after the Carousel tour, that was the 3rd one, I met my future husband and I stopped forward progress.
Yeah. But when you were making and not the choice, but when the time came to go to New York, was there fear? Was there, where am I going? What am I doing? What if this is wrong? Do you ever have those moments?
I can't explain that, but I'm much more fearful now than I was when I was younger.
Yeah? Do you have reason to have become that way?
I think so. I think when the world hasn't dealt with you harshly yet, what is there to be afraid of? When you've grown up in absolute love, very loving, wonderful family and community, nothing's harmed you.
Yeah.
Why would you be afraid of anything?
How about your family? What was their reaction to you going to New York?
If I had said, or my brother Hal, or my sister Midge, I want to be an astronaut, they would have said, do you really want to? Will you work hard? And how can we help? That would have been the response. So although there had to be just a little bit of just maybe making the truth malleable, we'll say, as to what I was doing. I mean, the story was Dixie, Virginia's gone to New York to study music. She's studying singing. There wasn't going to be any mention that I would also maybe like to perform, you know.
Right.
But I wasn't afraid. Coming in from the airport, I went by myself. I had a place at the rehearsal club, the famous rehearsal club, rooming with Patsy Welting, who was singing for the Met Studio then. Patsy Welting from Memphis, not living anymore. And a taxi cab brought us right through Queens, right through all those graveyards, all the cemeteries lined up, harsh entrance. And then he threw my bags on the street, and the rehearsal club had a big brownstone, had those stairs to get up. And that was kind of disappointing. But that was the only shock I had in New York for a long, long time.
Yeah.
I loved the New Yorkers. And they liked me.
Yeah.
I was looking for, well, you know, there's this story about the 2 sets of travelers going down the road, and they both encounter the same old man smoking his pipe, sitting, leaning, rocking in his chair, and they both stop, one after the other, and say, what's that town like up ahead? What the people like? And the old man says, what kind of people do you expect? And the first man says, oh, I don't think this part of the country we're going to find many nice people around here. And he said, that's probably the way it's going to work out. And then, of course, the second group of travelers said, oh, we heard they're really nice up there. And he said, that's probably the way it's going to work out. So, so I expected, as I always have with audiences, too, I expected to be, well, if not loved, at least warmly received.
Yeah. When you first made it then out to L.A., warmly received there too? Because that's a different kind of town. And, of course, the other thing, I don't mean to jump on your answer, but at your age, for Hollywood, they're going to say, oh, what is she thinking?
This is a song I do in my speeches always, and I did in a couple of my cabaret acts. And you'll know it. I don't know whether it was the Statler Brothers. All the gold in California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills in somebody else's name. So if you're dreaming about California, it don't matter at all where you played before. California is a brand new game.
True, huh?
It is. In New York, you get no. But you get it if you get it. But in L.A., I've never heard the word no. To this day, I've not heard no. But I've had things happen. I go, ooh, where did the knife go in? And I'm still not expecting bad things, but ooh, it's a very tough place because, my opinion, money isn't the thing that makes it so jeopardous. It's power that comes along, and the desire for increasing power and control makes people do things, just behave in certain ways, and makes people who 15 minutes ago were so grateful for whatever this new situation is, new job, makes these people turn into ego maniacs instantly. But unreasonable, makes people unreasonable. But I've been there 26 years now, and I've found that there are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people in Los Angeles. I've adjusted to it. It took me 18 years to adjust to Los Angeles.
Do you think it helped coming at the age you came then? As much as career-wise people would have assumed, but it gave you a life experience to look back
I don't know
on?
the answer to that. I doubt it. I think it would have been easier for me to acclimate myself. I think if I had come single, I came with 2 little girls, 9 and 10, feeling fraught that I was divorcing that the divorce had happened, and feeling so frightened as to how I'd care for them and uprooting them, changing their lives. It was just a grim time for me, and always there was pressure for me to move back to New York. Their father wasn't happy that I had taken these children away, but my parents were steadfast with me to come and be with me and help me to surround these little girls with security and love. And I met Hal Holbrook a year after I got out there, and he said, do not go back to New York. Keep doing these guest appearances. You were always working. You were always getting jobs. Keep doing it, Dixie. One of these days, somebody's going to get your number because you've got something to give. You're going to have a success out here. You're going to get into a series, and you're going to go. You just don't give up. And I believed him. Also, he's the first person who did not make fun of my name. Dixie Carter, he said. What a great name.
What is it about, do you think, your relationship with Hal Holbrook that worked when others didn't? Why? What was it special that made this click? You had to have thought about it.
I thought about it so much. There's a Southern expression, it takes a mighty good, which I was just absorbing when I met Hal. I hope you've never heard it, because it'll tickle you if you haven't. It takes a mighty good man to be better than no man at all.
That's a good one.
It's good, it's true.
Yeah.
So I had adjusted to that idea and thought, I'm just going to raise my children, behave myself, see if I can find work, and not be looking for romance. And then I met Hal, and he was that mighty good man. When I met him, I think I knew that I was smitten. I blushed horribly in the costume shop at CBS Radford. His eyes were unmasked, absolutely honest, piercing, no-nonsense eyes. And it was different from men I had met in Los Angeles before. Way, way different.
Did you know what it was at the moment?
I just knew it was very unsettling, and I knew that he was not friendly toward me, but that he was a pro, a great pro, and that there wasn't going to be any nonsense from him. There was going to be no evasiveness, no nothing. It was going to be, boom, what you see is what you get. And it was that whole shoot, which at that time television movies were made in 5 weeks. It was a long time. And I got bad sick with the flu the last week of the shoot. And I gave up trying to be charming or get on his good side. I just gave up. And at that point, when I gave up, just relaxed and let myself get silly, and we would shoot late into the night, and I had my medicine. I was on those antibiotics and feeling horrible. And then he started to take a turn and not see me as a woman who was going to entice him into another marriage, because he was sure he did not want to marry ever, 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 ever again. And there was a rap party And he said, "You going to the rap party?" Prior to this, I'd been into his big star trailer once to listen to Ricky Lee Jones. He liked Ricky Lee Jones, and he had invited me in to talk about something about the script. I sat there, very prim and nervous. That was it. And then he said, "You going to the rap party?" And I said, oh, I had stopped calling him Mr. Holbrook because he really didn't like that. But I said, I don't know. I'm on antibiotics, and I don't like to go to a party if I can't drink wine. And I don't even know what's the point on antibiotics. And he said, "Are you crazy?" This is when things started. "Are you crazy? I wouldn't take an antibiotic without a glass of wine." So I went to the rap party with him. And he was going off to resume sailing in the South Seas, I think the very next day. So, well, we didn't stay long. We stayed an hour, had a glass, maybe two in those days. And then he saw me to my car. And Clifford Pullins and his wife had moved from New York with me to take care of me, my children, the house. And Clifford had driven me because I was so sick. And I knew that I would be shooting a little bit late. So he was sitting in the car, in my old black Buick. And he saw this. Hal Holbrook said goodnight to me. And then as he was going to open my car door, he kissed me. I said goodbye, and then put me in the car. And I waved, and I said, "Clifford, did you see that?" I was totally shaken. I mean, oh my gosh. It scared me to death, but it was so thrilling. He kissed me. Kissed me goodbye. No warning. And that was the end for me, of course. And then when he came back from the South Seas, whenever it was, a month or two, whenever, or however long he was there, he called me up and we started going out together, and then our romance began, and then I wound up sailing in the South Seas with him on 3 different trips. When, I realized that was probably going to be the best way to his heart, was to get on that boat out in the ocean and risk my life, and it was the best way to his heart, because that made him somehow recognize that I would be. I think what he wanted then was some fun in his life, and that I would be fun to be with, a fun companion. And I think that was my and then, of course, it wasn't long before I came to know that he, having been left by his mother and his father when he was little, was looking for a family. And did I have a family to provide? They're
yes,
crazy
you did.
about him.
Yeah.
Big family.
So when you look at your career, is there a point that you can pinpoint that says, that was when I hit success, that's when I crossed over? Is there one moment that you look at?
Depends on how you, I guess, how you measure success. You'd have to say Designing Women. You would have to say that.
Yeah.
Definitely was commercial success, and getting to do Masterclass, for example, on Broadway probably wouldn't have happened without Designing Women. Getting to sing at the Cafe Carlyle probably wouldn't have happened without. That's my calling card that made me well known. So, I think as an actress that I felt like I got somewhere. The year Designing Women was canceled, 1993, I asked for the gentleman who started me in the theater, George Touliadas, to return to Memphis from where he was living in Vancouver and direct Streetcar Named Desire for me. And he did. And University of Memphis put up a great deal of money. And the Ron Terry at the bank in Memphis, First Tennessee Bank, put up the money and gave us a big, gorgeous production which ran that summer of 93. And I broke through something there with that great role. For myself, I thought. And the audiences were very, very and then to get to do Masterclass was another tremendous experience. I actually achieved tremendously satisfying, and now looking back on it, if I hadn't stopped doing everything right then, I know that I would have gone from this to this to this. I did a play for Joseph Papp. No, it was right after I came out of my imposed retirement, called Jessie and the Bandit Queen. It was a 2-character play. And I played 9 characters, and some of them were men, down at the Public Theater. And that was a terrific, big experience.
Yeah.
You have to do something that's very hard to do to get better. I'm doing it right now in Arsenic and Old Lace. I'm growing my hair out white. I'm running up and down 3 flights of stairs in that gigantic set every night with Maya Dillon, the great Maya Dillon. This is hard for me, admitting my age and going over into, this is an old lady part. It's even older than I actually need to be. But I think you have to try to do something that isn't easy for you.
And you know what I'm going to have to do right now that isn't easy for me?
Stop.
The format of this show says we are out of time. Thank you so much for sitting down.
Thank you for having me.
Dixie Carter.
To order a DVD of this or any episode of InnerVIEWS, please visit HoustonPBS.org.